Do you know anybody who's against biomedical research?
I do not know anybody that's against biomedical research, but I know some.
It's like being against children, isn't it?
It is.
It's like being against world peace, isn't it?
It is.
It's like being against golden retrievers, isn't it?
There's some people that argue there.
Okay, well, let's get that out of the way. I want to ask you about NIH. I love NIH. I think they do extraordinary work. But isn't it a fact if NIH assigns way too much money for overhead, that money comes out of the basic research? Isn't that the case?
Senator, both those things are providing funds for research. And I agree with you that we need to make the administrative burden and the costs associated with it as low as possible, because we do want as much to go to research.
Well, why can't NIH live with 15% overhead?
Yeah. Senator, we have had a partnership that's been going on for 75 years in this country.
Yes, sir, but why can't NIH live with 15% overhead?
Hey, everyone. Welcome back to Hot News Today, where I cut through the noise and dig deep into how your money is being spent in Washington. Today, I'm diving into an explosive moment from a recent Appropriations Committee hearing. Senator John Kennedy brought the heat, calling out the NIH and elite universities over how much of your tax dollars are going to overhead instead of actual research. And trust me, you're going to want to hear this. So here's what went down. Senator Kennedy is speaking with Dr. Parikh, and the first thing he does? He clears the air. Nobody's against biomedical research. It's like being against children, world peace, or golden retrievers. We're all it. But then Kennedy shifts gears and hits on the real issue, NIH funding. Specifically, how much of it is being gobbled up by administrative overhead at big universities. Spoiler alert, it's
Roberts Woods Johnson Foundation limits overhead to 12%, don't they?
They do. Again, apples to oranges, because they count different things.
Isn't it a fact that the universities that receive the most money from NIH also have the biggest endowments?
I haven't checked that, but it probably is true, Senator. And I agree with you. There are challenges that we need to work on.
Well, let's take Harvard. 69 cents out of every dollar from NIH given to Harvard goes to overhead.
No, sir, it's 69 cents out of every $1.69. It's on top of, it's not within.
Okay. Let me ask you about one of the worst abuses I've ever seen. It was at Stanford.
Yes, sir.
Stanford was spending 74% of grants from NIH on overhead. Remember that?
I do, although I was in high school at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I wasn't. And
Kennedy asks a tough question. Why can't the NIH live with a 15% cap on overhead like private foundations do? Gates Foundation, 10%. Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, 12%. But some universities, like Harvard, are seeing 69 cents out of every NIH dollar go to overhead. That's not a typo, and it gets worse. Stanford once spent 74% of NIH grants on overhead. The kicker? They used the money to renovate the president's home, pay employees at their shopping center, and even account for depreciation on A. Let that sink in.
now, does NIH audit every year the way these grants are being spent?
They don't audit every year. There's a process for
So
determining.
they just trust the universities?
No, there's a negotiation that takes place between
Yes,
the
sir,
NIH
but if it's a
and the
five-year grant
Yes, sir.
and they agree on indirect costs, they don't audit it every year. What if the universities lie to them?
That is absolutely a possibility.
What does fungible mean?
Fungible means that you can move money from one place to another.
And money's fungible, isn't it?
Money is fungible.
Kennedy pushes harder. Does NIH audit these grants annually? The answer? No, NIH negotiates the indirect costs. And if it's a 5-year grant, that money flows with very little oversight. And Kennedy calls it like it is. Money is.
What I've heard is the implication is that anybody who is against asking hard questions about the overhead and spending is against biomedical research.
I wouldn't say that, sir. I think you are a champion.
And I don't agree with that.
Yeah, I don't either.
But every penny that we spend on overhead that's not being audited, and you know as much as I do, Doc, that some of it is being abused, is money that is taken away from research. And that's just a fact. And if you care about this child here, and I know you do, we all do, than any money spent illegitimately on overhead to pay the salary of a professor in the humanities department at a university is coming out of her research. And it's not wrong to ask questions.
It is not wrong to ask
No,
questions.
it's not.
Not at all.
If nobody's checking where it goes, it gets misused. And every dollar that gets lost to abuse is a dollar going to life-saving research. If you care about the sick kids, the families waiting on cures, the researchers trying to make a difference, you care where the money goes. Kennedy finishes with a bang. My mama didn't raise a fool. And if she did, it was one of my brothers. The message is loud and clear. Taxpayers aren't buying the excuses. So here's my question to you. If private foundations can do it, why can't institutions with billion-dollar endowments? And hey, if you're tired of the spin and you want more real talk like this, we're just getting started. Bottom line, it's not wrong to ask questions. In fact, it's to ask them. Every dollar spent on bloated admin costs is a dollar taken from cures, from breakthroughs, from science. So let's keep the pressure on, stay informed, and hold them accountable. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.